This is Channels Television's Breaking News.
Good morning and welcome to today's newscast. Today we'll be discussing our current situation in the coronavirus pandemic and the comparison that some people have been making to the Spanish influenza of 1918. We are currently experiencing a worldwide COVID-19 pandemic. California has currently been put under a stay-at-home order, as have other states. Schools, places of religious practice, and non-essential businesses have been closed until further notice. We will later discuss the details of the coronavirus pandemic. Lately, there has been a common comparison between Spanish influenza of 1918 and the COVID-19 pandemic. This is something we should not be doing. Between the Spanish influenza and the coronavirus pandemic, there are many comparisons that are similarities and differences that we might not even know of. People that may be making these comparisons probably do not have their research done. For the Spanish influenza of 1918, there was a much higher death toll and a fatality rate of 3.5%. During this time, there were no doctors or hospitals readily available for the mass amounts of patients in need of help. Patients that were experiencing the symptoms of the Spanish influenza were told to take aspirin and drink liquids. Therefore, they did not have much medicine to take care of them. As mentioned previously, the fatality rate of the Spanish influenza was much higher. Through the end of the pandemic, it killed tens of millions of people. Much higher death toll than we have seen in the coronavirus so far. One factor that many people are not taking into consideration when comparing the Spanish influenza to the coronavirus is the time difference. During the time of the influenza pandemic in 1918, there was a much more primitive medical and public health services compared to today. With the coronavirus, the first essential issue was wrecking our economy or losing millions of lives. According to research, if not controlled, the coronavirus could have killed 2.2 million people. Yet, we are currently avoiding that by taking the precautions that we are today. Although the current economy will be sacrificed, closing all social gathering places is showing a slowed spread of the virus. The two pandemics show fairly similar symptoms, yet are almost entirely different. As compared to the Spanish influenza, we are experiencing the coronavirus pandemic in the year we are today, 2020, which means that we have much more advanced medical practices, which is helping us take care of this pandemic much easier, although it is not entirely controlled yet. A common comparison between the Spanish influenza pandemic and the coronavirus pandemic is that if a patient contracts a mild case of the virus, it is possible for them to develop antibodies, which makes them virtually immune. Now that we have discussed the difference between the two and why we shouldn't be exactly making comparisons, we will talk about why we are handling the pandemic such as we are. A good portion of the society is concerned about how the government has reacted towards handling the issues of the pandemic in our current situation. We have to keep in mind the different statuses of economic practice. There is communism, socialism, and capitalism. Communism is a stateless, classless society. Communists believe that this can only happen if you take away the power from the ruling class. Socialism is an economic theory of social organization. Socialists believe that the means of making, moving, and trading wealth should be owned and controlled by the workers. Now we will discuss capitalism. Capitalism is an economic practice in which the government plays a secondary role. In capitalism, people and companies make most of the decisions and own most of the property. The means of production are largely or entirely owned privately and operated for profit. Throughout this pandemic so far, there has been a large amount of attention upon the amount of resources that we have currently. While on this topic, we will discuss shortage and scarcities and supply and demand. Scarcity is a naturally occurring limitation on a resource that cannot be replenished. A shortage is a market condition of a particular good at a particular price. With shortages, over time, the good will be replenished and the shortage will be resolved. With scarcities, although, that might not be the case. Now, supply and demand is the amount of commodity, product, and service available and the desire for it. These are all considered as factors regulating its price. With this information, it is important that people do not panic and stay informed with how our resources will be replenished. Because we are a capitalist nation, some people's ideas of who should be in charge and who should take charge during a time like this can be strange. It is very common that people act irrationally and out of focus when frightened. That is why there needs to be a specific group of optimistic and logical people to make decisions during a time like this. Although in the setting of a capitalist nation, the government is a secondary source, it is important that we make logical decisions for our nation to function properly. Although there are some similarities and differences between the Spanish influenza of 1918 and the coronavirus pandemic, we should not be making comparisons. The world is currently dealing with this worldwide pandemic as we should, carefully and patiently. During times like these, it is important that we stay informed. This is why you do your research and stay calm. And that's all for today's newscast.